Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. My wife cheated on me and deceived the sh*t out of me, long read alert. I suppose I'll simply start with the account of my marriage, which lasted from 2020 to 2021. Please accept my apologies in advance if anything lacks coherence or seems unclear. 2020 was a difficult year for many people, and I simply happened to fall into an additional mistake of 2020, my hasty marriage to the person I trusted the most. On January 1st, 2020, I received a text from an old college first-year friend whom I hadn't seen in years. "Hello there, I'm missing you." And if I could alter one thing about 2020, it would be my enjoyment of her messages and bringing her into my life, which I worked so hard to create. I had a crush on her in college, but I never imagined us going serious. She's been in a number of failed relationships and seems to be the kind of person who doesn't want anything meaningful to do with anybody. YOLO. I'm aware of my blunder. I've been working full-time for 2 years after graduating from university, and I was raised with values such as structure, hard work for a reward, emotions, seriousness, devotion, and so on. I, too, have defects, since no one is flawless. Anyway, returning to the story. For the following several months, we would communicate constantly, and she would come over every other weekend, driving 4 hours just to be with me. We were really thrilled, and she was really pushing me to propose and be married as soon as possible. When that didn't work, she suggested a promise ring, and I believe her perseverance, along with my never having had such profound feelings before and falling in love, led us to May 1st, 2020, when I proposed and we went to court the next day to be married. We were overjoyed, and she vowed to overcome her negative behaviors, which I believed I had mastered, only to discover later that there's a whole other level to this. Smoking is an example of a terrible habit, which she persuaded me to do at the time. We signed a rental agreement at the same time and moved into a property in the same city where I previously resided. We were so pleased and delighted to be out here, constructing the life we wanted, and we appeared to agree on the important things like kids and families and things like that. I was sleeping on the bed working from home one day after just about a month of living together when I saw her phone, right next to me, light up with Snapchat and Twitter alerts. I had already memorized her passcodes since she told me once, and it was so simple that I never forgot. I entered it and had a look at the alerts, and I was astounded by what I saw. My whole body began to shake as we remained curled up as she slept, and here I am learning that what she told me she did for a job was a total lying in the rubbish. I noticed the postings on Twitter, Snapchat, OnlyFans, and MFC and quickly deduced what was going on. My newlywed wife has been camming online for the last 3 years or so. As my body froze in bed, I was at a loss for words. My trembling body gradually woke her up, and as soon as she did, she saw my pale complexion and lack of eye contact and asked, "What's wrong?" I remained silent. Once again, "What's the matter, babe? Are you all right?" "What do you do for a living?" I inquired. I carefully moved her phone towards her, displaying a highly explicit post of her selling her body on Twitter, and her response was surprising and completely ludicrous. "How do you think I earned all much money in such a short period of time while staying up all night?" Yes, she is extremely quick to blame her issues and lies on others. I realize some people are okay with camming and everything, but I just want to point out that it was quite evident that this was something that would permanently damage our relationship. The next minutes were her weeping on the bed and attempting to embrace and kiss me and tell me she's sorry and won't do it again, and she would quit and do everything for me and to make me happy, and that it's a soul-destroying job and so on. Yes, my stupid didn't see anything other than forgiveness, and we continued to work on our marriage. And, as they say, when trust is destroyed, everything is shattered. So I started checking her phone every now and then, and I discovered her surreptitiously camming clients, and FWB like her doctor, for example. And there we go, stupid again, forgiving again. I don't remember how many times I've forgiven her for lying and breaking such an important commitment to me at such a vulnerable time. But it had to be 2-3 times after May we eventually began seeing a marital counselor for a few months, and predictably, it was primarily assignments for her to work on her problems of how she wants to be wanted, loved by men, and so on. And let me just say that we had the best life and emotional journey together, during the good moments, of course. Our marriage seemed to be on the mend during the following several visits to the therapist. But ultimately, all hell broke loose, and I lost it. She resumes her psychiatrist on December 1st, swapping nudes and vacation plans for medicines and cash. I almost forgot to add that I have a very long record of all these exchanges in the form of text screenshots. That day, I couldn't sleep but feigned too. We were in the same bed, and as the light came up, I couldn't stand it any longer, so I went to my computer while she was still sleeping and printed the divorce documents, filled them out fairly given what she'd done, and woke her up with a simple, "I need you to sign this." She was so perplexed that I had to explain and tell her, "These are divorce papers. You don't deserve someone like me. I had enough lies. I can't trust you again, even if I wanted to. Save us both the head and heart aches and sign this." She bursts into tears and has a nervous breakdown, so I didn't get a signature that day. Her mother drove over, frightened after what had occurred, and I didn't precisely tell her what had happened, but kept it as a simple, "Our trust has been destroyed, and I can't trust her anymore. This is for the best." After a week of back and forth, she eventually consented to sign it, stating that she wanted us to remain friends. Remember my stupid, "Yes," I replied, "let's continue friends," and offered another little portion of my heart to her as a friend who still cares for her and meets some of her needs now that her dwindling money is no longer there. One of our primary agreements as friends who would be living together for the rest of the lease was not to invite anybody over, guys in her case and women in my case. We had separate bedrooms and tried to concentrate on our lives. It took barely 2 weeks. December 16th, and I wake up at 1 a.m. to find a text from her stating she has a friend over, and I send her my disappointment since it's plainly a male in there, and I felt so insulted. No response, so I take my phone and walk into the garden to get a nice video of what's going on in the bedroom. If I'd waited 10 seconds longer, they'd be all in each other's faces. As I was taping her total falsehoods and deception, I creepily rapped on the glass, and the man began to leave. This was probably the first time I yelled at her in the whole year of our marriage, calling her trash, filthy, and other derogatory terms. After much arguing, we agreed that she would take over the lease until it expired in May 2021 and be liable for the whole rent amount. I began apartment hunting and ended up with a move-in date of January 9, 2021. Keep in mind 2 things. The first is that in order to remove my name from the lease, I had to pay the remaining half of the rent for the next several months, and we agreed she would pay me back on a payment plan since she doesn't have a permanent job and has returned to camming. That agreement was presented to her yesterday and has yet to be signed. The second point is that I have removed all of my belongings from the home where we resided, with the exception of my washer and dryer, which I promised to leave with her as a little favor until the end of January 2021. I'm debating whether I should keep to that arrangement now, since she makes a big deal out of everything and won't let go of anything easily. Anyway, that same night, I finish my move out, and 10 minutes later, with a 20-minute notice, she invites another man over to move some furniture around, a guy she found on Bumble who she continues praising for his success and wealth. I'm spending the night in a hotel near my new apartment since the power is down. I don't want to contact her because I feel like shutting her off totally from my life. I began watching cheating wives videos on YouTube, and the Reddit storytelling ones led me here to tell you about my infidel ex-wife. My ex-wife twisted and fooled me. I was the stupid nice guy who worked overtime, trying to find stability on our shaky grounds, and yet all I get from her is hurt and disrespect, even on good terms. I'm glad we didn't have a wedding, and I feel sorry for any single soul she decides to manipulate in the future. Yes, she's very good at it, and I'm a dumb. Overall, I'm delighted it only took me a year to figure out who she is and what she wants to improve about herself. I don't have any children, and all of her financial support, with the exception of some furnishings, came from my earnings and hard work, and I can let go of this person forever, even if she comes back on her knees with another "Hey, I miss you. I've learned a lot." You're all fantastic and excellent listeners to a not-so-great writer if you've made it this far. I'm hoping to grow better at it and post more updates as time goes on. But all I wanted to do was rant and let off some steams, since it's so simple for her to find a man and sleep with. But I'm still in shock and wondering who the F***ck I married, haha. Thank you so much, and I hope I didn't lose any of you. Edit. I just wanted to thank everyone on here for trying to offer and assist in any way they could. I want you to know that your comments have been validating and supporting the way I've felt about all of this for the last year. To be honest, this is probably my first time spewing this many words on the internet, as well as my first Reddit post. I am very grateful that there are folks out there that are willing to provide impartial ideas and perspectives. 3 words: live, learn, and repeat.